So this system, by design, was created to rob you of what you really have, which is your work, your time. Gold prevents that. And historically, I mean, we've got thousands of years to look at. So yes, they suppress the price. So people might say, well, how come gold prices is so much higher? Because it's really simple. A rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. And when you really understand that this currency, this fiat money that they can print at will is dying, then you start to make different choices.
Lynette Zang is the chief market analyst at ITM Trading, a position she has held since 2002. Lynette has extensive knowledge of the inner workings of the global financial markets, which she has intently studied and been a part of in one capacity or the other since 1964. For the 68-year-old analyst, nothing is currently as important as exiting the system and being self-sufficient. Lynette strongly believes we all need to be as independent as possible and at the same time form a strong community with which we can look out for one another when the storm hits. According to Lynette, that storm, the ultimate collapse of the global financial system, is coming much faster than people are prepared for. And when the storm does hit, Lynette believes we will all have to depend on ourselves for food, water, energy, security, barterability, and wealth preservation through the world's truest hard assets, gold and silver. During a recent discussion with Stephen Gardner, Lynette gives her outlook on the current state of the American and overall global economy. The chief market analyst explains that the United States economy is right on the precipice of disaster, beginning with a bigger and more destructive return of the banking sector crisis. This time, she says both the regional banks and the J.P. Morgans and Wells Fargos will be severely affected when the storm hits. In addition, Lynette says the Federal Reserve is caught between a hard place and a rock. As long as they keep raising interest rates, they draw us closer to the next crisis. But a failure to do so leaves inflation unchecked and further weakens the rapidly dying dollar. The culmination of all these events, Lynette adds, is crisis after crisis until the economy completely crumbles. During her discussion with Gardner, Lynette also explains how the system is specifically designed to work against the masses. She gives an example of the COVID-19 pandemic and how they led us all along while enjoying everything they prohibited us from doing. Lynette believes something similar will happen during the next crisis, only on a much bigger scale, and only those who are proactive enough to take their wealth out of the system now will survive the crisis. We will now bring you clips from the discussion as Lynette vividly details what's coming and how to properly preserve your wealth through physical gold and silver. Please watch the video to the end, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
Well, 100%. But I'll tell you what gives me a little bit of hope around that is actually China, because the people started to protest. There was, and I think this was all a big test. How far can we push people? And they do use fear. Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? So yeah, for sure, they totally do use fear. And this next crisis that's coming up is going to be the scariest of them all, which is why it is critically important for people to be as self-sufficient and independent and have physical gold and silver outside of the system. But you also have to have food, water, energy, security, as well as barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Because if you do not have those things in place, when the poopy really hits the fan coming up, and we're not that far from there, right? Then, I mean, do you remember what happened in March and April of 2020? Grocery store shelves were bare. I started really prepping in 2008. I knew the system died because I've been studying currency life cycles forever. And, you know, it scared the crap out of me. I was glad that they put us on life support to give me an opportunity to get ready for this. So in March of 2020 in April, I'm walking around my urban farm, and I'm not a farmer by nature. I mean, I'm going to own that title now. But back then, you know, I wasn't a gardener. I wasn't a farmer. That was not my thing. But I knew that food becomes the single biggest issue for people as we transition from one currency system into another one. And hasn't the World Economic Forum telling us we need a complete global reset socially, economically, and financially? Well, believe it. I've been talking about the reset ever since I heard Christine Lagarde, with that audio has subsequently been deleted. But in a Bloomberg interview in a half an hour, she probably mentioned the word reset like 30 times or something. It was ridiculous. It was so obvious. And I went, holy crap, this is it. So, the public needs to get ready for this. Arguably, your foundation needs to be in wealth preservation, because if you are sitting with those fiat money assets and the value of that currency gets hyperinflated away, trillion times zero is zero. Sorry, but that's just a fact. And that's how they transfer the wealth, is by getting you, it's called perception management, getting you to position the way they want you to position. So if you hold all your wealth inside the system, it's so easy to steal. Look at the trading halts. Look at, look at these REITs saying, nope, sorry, no distributions. Look at the gates and the different things that they've put on money market funds where people think they're like a savings account. But if a lot of people want to get their money all at once, guess what's going to happen? The answer is going to be no. And what are you going to do? Who are you going to yell at? Who are you going to talk to? What door are you going to pound on? It doesn't matter. We have been transitioned into primarily an intangible society, getting us used to that. But I got news for you. There's somebody that owns every single asset on the planet. Wealth does not disappear. It merely shifts location. So if you have a real money that is not tied to this debt bubble, which is gold and silver, then you're in a position to take advantage of the opportunities present. Why do you think global central banks have been loading up like gold, like the highest levels ever since 1967? What was happening then? Oh yeah, we were transitioning from a gold-backed currency to a debt-based currency. Who do you think knew that? The central banks.
One important diabolic plot the world's elite have never tried to hide is the Great Reset agenda by the World Economic Forum. This international, supposedly non-governmental organization believes the world is in a climate crisis, and the only way out is rapid depopulation and the complete dependence on corporations and their elite executives for everything. Imagine a world where you own nothing, not your car, the house you live in, or even the clothes on your back. Through what it describes as stakeholder capitalism, the World Economic Forum is looking to place ownership in the hands of a few individuals, while others rent from them and have their decisions made by them. The most alarming part of this is that it has already started, and many people are still blissfully unaware. That's the eventual ultimate collapse and drastic restructuring of our economic and financial systems. That's the ultimate crisis that's going to make the 2008 global financial crisis and the pandemic seem like a walk in the park. And that's exactly why the central banks are loading up on more gold than at any other point in history. Let's get back to the interview as Lynette further describes the coming crisis and the rapid debasement of the dollar.
If we go back to 1913 when this experiment started, if you had a $1 gold coin, which is a 1/20 of an ounce, maybe half the size of my pinky fingernail, or you had a $1 silver coin, or you had a $1 silver certificate, you could have bought 11 loaves of bread with any of those, the three of them. If you go to today, and not exactly today because I didn't do the calculations, but I'll get you pretty close. You can get maybe a third of a loaf with that dollar bill. You can get roughly 11 loaves of bread with this 1 ounce silver coin, but you can get about 135 loaves of bread with that $1 1/20 of an ounce gold coin. I mean, it holds its purchasing power. That is the single most important function that money was supposed to do. But fiat money, that dollar bill, by design. If you go back to when they were creating it, they knew that not one man in a million understood inflation, and that inflation creates what's called nominal confusion, because the government wanted to be able to tax you without you knowing about it. So there's that inflation tax that we hear about. Corporations wanted to pay you less, but knew if you were used to getting $10, you weren't going to accept 5. If, however, that $10 spent like 5, well, look at all the income and wealth inequality. So this system, by design, was created to rob you of what you really have, which is your work, your time. Gold prevents that. And historically, I mean, we've got thousands of years to look at. So yes, they suppress the price. So people might say, well, how come gold prices is so much higher? Because it's really simple. A rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. And when you really understand that this currency, this fiat money that they can print at will is dying, then you start to make different choices. This is good money. And the other point that is so important that I never really hear anybody talk about it is, why has gold and silver never, ever, ever gone to zero? Because fiat money and stock markets and bond markets, they can't say that. They've gone to zero over 4,800 times. But gold and silver hasn't. You know why? Because they have the broadest functionality and the broadest base of users. Physical silver and gold are used in every single sector of the global economy. Used in finance, used in art, used in food, used in engineering, used in space travel, on and on and on and on. So when you're going into a fight, and we are entering a fight for your freedom in your life and your choices and your children's, right? What do you want? You want something that's only accepted in one place, the financial, and so when nobody trusts it, that's it, it's done. Or do you want a flipping arsenal?
According to the Federal Reserve Economic Data, FRED, an online database created and maintained by the Research Department at the Federal Bank of St. Louis, this is a graph of the purchasing power of the consumer dollar in U.S. city average. Of course, it has continued to worsen after 2020's unchecked money printing, and it will further worsen when the printers have to come back on again to save the banks, the real estate industry, or pretty much any of the many sectors that would be severely affected during the coming recession. This brings us back to Lynette Zang's question: are you going into the coming crisis with this obviously weak and dying currency, or a freaking arsenal? Please drop your replies and your comments on the interview in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our other videos on gold, silver, and copper. Thanks for watching.